The U.S. Supreme Court siding with religious groups in a dispute over coronavirus restrictions in New York, limiting attendance at religious services due to the pandemic. CNN's Polo Sandoval joining us now with the breaking details. Polo, good morning.
Good morning to you, Eric. With that decision coming in late last night, the Supreme Court in it basically barring the state of New York from enforcing strict attendance limits at houses of worship due to COVID. As you recall, Governor Andrew Cuomo first imposed these restrictions in early October. And since then, here in New York, the Catholic Diocese of Brooklyn and also several synagogues have been launching a legal fight against the state of New York. Now, important to point out here that there won't be any immediate impact, as the churches and the synagogues that took this all the way to the Supreme Court, they're not currently actually subject to restrictions. That's because they were recently lifted due to what the state describes as an improvement in COVID stats in those parts of Queens and in Brooklyn. But as we very well know, things can change very quickly as the number of COVID infections rise. And that is really what a lot of this case has been about. The houses of worship here have argued that the restrictions violated their religious freedoms under the First Amendment. They also felt that they were unfairly facing stricter limitations than essential businesses. Chief Justice Roberts was in the dissent and noted that the religious groups could have potentially returned to court if those restrictions would have been put back in place. In his opinions, the Chief Justice writing, it may well be that such restrictions violate the free exercise clause, but it is not necessary, however, for us to rule on that serious and difficult question at this time. We should point out that this ruling also highlights the impact of newly sworn Justice Amy Coney Barrett. He sided with her conservative colleagues in this dispute. So that really is what this means for at the local level here, Allison. What's going to be interesting to see exactly what this decision will mean for potentially other religious groups across the country that are trying to fill their pews, that are potentially launching legal fights against their cities and states as well.
Absolutely. We'll find out some of that impact right now. Thank you very much, Polo. So joining us is CNN legal analyst Elie Honig. He's a former assistant U.S. attorney for the Southern District of New York. So Elie, how do you see the significance of this decision?
Well, this is a really big deal, Allison, because it's the first time a court, certainly the Supreme Court, has come in and struck down regulations imposed aiming to limit the spread of COVID by local authorities. Essentially, what the Supreme Court says here is this is an unconstitutional infringement on the First Amendment right to free exercise. They say you cannot treat churches and synagogues different from other comparable organizations. But one of the big headlines here is the changing composition of the court has immediately yielded very different results. Just a few months ago, back in July, the Supreme Court had a very similar case that originated out of California and Nevada and ruled 5-4 upholding the restrictions. Now, the big difference, of course, is Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg has passed and been replaced by Amy Coney Barrett. She has flipped, and with her has gone the entire decision of the court. Now they come out 5-4 the other way and at least temporarily say Governor Cuomo's executive order that limits the capacity of these religious organizations, that gets struck down. So that's a big difference.